Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Molly Taylor. I go by Molly the Kush RN, and you've reached Conversations with Kush podcast. Today, I am honored to be able to be on site with an incredible woman in this industry named Kara Jensen, the owner and operator of Essence of Health in Duluth, Minnesota. So welcome, Kara, to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Tell me about, I want to know the Kara origin story. So tell me first how you came into cannabis.
Oh, wow. When I first, that's taking it back really far.
Yeah, let's take it back. This is the origin.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I first experimented with just trying cannabis my senior year in high school.
Okay.
And then didn't really become a regular user until I was in college. I realized that it really helped me with the stress part of it. I always took on a full load with all of my classes at the time and felt like it was just a nice way to decompress, I guess. I've really had to do a deep dive to understand why I've actually continued to use it. And I feel like just being able to slow down and the pace of life gets so hectic sometimes, especially in college and you're working and going to school and all of that.
I love that you're being more intentional about your cannabis use. So before maybe it was like treating one thing, but now you can really kind of globalize that and use it for maybe other things or So yeah, great, good for you.
Absolutely. You know, I just kind of was this novice user, I guess, for a while until I went through some health issues.
Okay.
And before that, my grandmother was going through severe dementia, and we were rotating between our family members who was taking care of her as the caregiver. And as her dementia increased, she became increasingly agitated, paranoid, just high anxiety.
Sure.
And all of the different medications that her doctor was prescribing her was actually making things worse and causing insomnia. She'd be up 15 times a night as a caregiver, having to get up with somebody that is fragile and might fall. It's an extreme situation.
And someone has to be there all the time too. So
all the time, 24-hour care.
Toll.
Yeah, my grandfather was still alive at the time, but didn't have the ability to take care of her like that.
Sure.
So because of her anxiety, I remember joking with my younger brother, who was also taking care of her. We'd switch off and on. Man, maybe we should just have Nanny try a brownie, chill her ass out.
Right.
Because she'd literally be so high anxiety and confused, because that's where it came from, was the confusion.
Sure.
And you know, we spoke about it. He had spoke with my mom about it to get the okay, and I decided to do some research on it, and found that in Europe, it's something in different places in Europe. I don't remember where off the top of my head now, but they were using it medicinally for people that had dementia and Alzheimer's and all of this to help with the anxiety of it. So once I found that out, I definitely realized that it was something that it was at least worth trying on her.
Yeah.
So
did you have to do any convincing to get your parents on board, or?
No, well, it was more like a let's just try it out kind of a thing. After I spoke to my mom about a lot of the different research that I had done.
Good job.
She was like, it makes sense to at least try it for her. And then I went on, there was a website at the time called Cannabis University.
Okay.
I don't know whatever happened to it, or if it's still out there, but shout out to them if they're still
Shout out to Cannabis University.
Because I learned how to make some really good butter on there, and learned that the best process of making butter is to do the clarification first, so that you're not losing a lot of it and getting the most out of the plant.
Right.
So we used to just make her brownies. I would get the best flour that I had access to at the time, and then I'd make the butter and dose her with what was literally one bite at a time.
Right.
And she had one bite in the morning and then one bite in the afternoon, and it changed her life exponentially. Nice. I don't even know the quality for life was, definitely increased in a amazing way, in a way so much that it made me really angry knowing that so many other people were being deprived of access to it.
Sure.
Like, I had to go out of my way, and it was illegal, and what I was
Right.
doing, like, I could have been getting in a lot of trouble
Right.
at the time, you know? I mean, and then knowing that people are having to move their kids to Colorado because they have epilepsy and stuff, like uprooting their entire lives
Sure.
over this plant. And then so I got really upset how stigmatized it is and everything else that goes along with it being, in the black market. But,
Right.
and then shortly after my grandmother passed, I found that I had something called gastrointestinal stromal tumor, GIST, and it was a tumor in my stomach. And they wanted to put me on a chemo med.
Oh, wow.
And they did. It was called Gleevec. But what was really interesting was that they had found it way prior to that, like years ago, maybe 10 years before they actually noted to me what it was. They thought that it was a small growth that I needed to get like a follow-up on when I had done an ultrasound when I was pregnant, and I never did it because I thought it was just nothing.
Right.
And then when they finally did find it, it was the size of like a racquetball.
Oh, wow.
But what was amazing though was that when I went into the doctor, they told me that it probably wasn't cancerous because of the size, and they said if it was, you'd be dead by now.
Yeah.
But what I thought was so fascinating was when doing research, I also found that that cancer has anti-tumor properties. So cancer what did I say?
Cancer. Cannabis.
Cannabis has cannabis has anti-tumor properties.
Yeah.
So I
especially CBD.
Yeah, and because I was a fairly regular consumer ever since I was in college, it could have potentially saved my life because just becomes cancer for a lot of people and takes them over. So
does it help you manage your symptoms then of whatever
when I was it got to the point to where I literally like felt like I was dying. That's why I went and found out what was going on, that I was in that much pain. But once they put me on the chemo med, there's a lot of like nausea and stuff that goes along with that. And I used it to control those symptoms. And again, knowing what it did for me in that regard, and then having the experience with my grandmother, I just really became a huge advocate for its use. And, for people that just use it for stress management, pain relief, whatever, I don't necessarily believe in the idea of recreational use.
Agreed.
There's adult use, and you use it therapeutically, and I believe that everybody is using it for some form of relief.
Yeah, cannabis is medicine, right? Yeah. And as we spoke about earlier, developing our own relationship is really the crux of it, right? However it works for us.
Right.
So great job. So from from user to grower to advocate, and now Cannabis. How did we get there?
Well, I worked for the Aveda Corporation for a while and learned a lot about plant medicine and sustainability and all of that. And it was kind of in alignment with just my beliefs as far as just taking care of yourself and nutritionally, health-wise, otherwise. I got really interested, like I said, in the industry after what I had experienced. And I was visiting a friend out in California who introduced me to somebody who was wanting to get into doing some branding stuff with cannabis.
Okay.
And I felt like it was a great excuse to be out in California a lot.
Yeah.
To start a business there.
Perfect.
I mean, I got to the point to where I needed to be escaping Minnesota on a regular basis when it was getting that cold.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a great way to learn what a legalized market looked like and how it operated, and just understanding compliancy and just everything that goes along with the culture of a legalized market. So I was out there quite a bit. That started about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I invested in a company called Halex. They were doing some distribution stuff. We got the domain weedster.com
Nice.
to do some distribution in the Santa Barbara area.
Okay.
We had a warehouse out in the Arroyo Grande and did some stuff in that area as well. I've phased out of that since then.
Okay.
And then invested in a CBD store in Minneapolis, and did, that whole deal down there with just trying to understand what the market was going to look like in Minnesota with legalization and whatnot.
Right.
And
what a great segue coming from that legal market where you have all these people like up and running their businesses, and then to come into our market where it's like fresh on the scene, right?
Yeah,
So
brand new.
what were some of the takeaways that you wanted to bring from the California market and bring to Minnesota, and how did you try to implement that through your first businesses?
I guess seeing how many different types of dispensaries there were out there. I mean, you have everything that looks like, MedMen were looking like you'd walk into something that felt like you were walking into an Apple store, right? And then you had ones that were more like, seemed more like the smoke shop style kind of things. And then Green Goddess is a really cool dispensary out there. I really loved High Tides in Malibu was one of my favorite places because they integrated more of like your natural wellness stuff along with cannabis too. And I guess kind of finding where my niche was going to be with it as far as what I gravitated towards.
Okay.
And I definitely gravitated more towards, the people that were also had things going on with like functional mushroom blends and other wellness practices too.
Naturopathic medicine, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just the vibe of that store too, and all of that. So
I've never been there.
Yeah.
Do they have a lot
I
of
hope it
plants
survived
and
the
stuff?
fires.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right in the mix of all of that.
Goodness.
So
Yeah. Prayers to them.
Yeah, my friend Momita, she lived out there right in the Palisades where all of that happened. That was like my home away from home for a while. So But yeah, so California had a special place in my heart, and with all of, learning about cannabis and seeing that. And as far as what I wanted to bring here with it was more of the educational aspect of all of it. A lot of those places you already had to know what you were talking about to be able to even have any idea of what you were wanting to look for. And I definitely realized that the stores that were more on the educational side of things were, to me, was going to be the most successful businesses.
Yeah, and I see you implementing that in your own store. I've seen people come in and you're going over to them right away and you're asking about what medications they're on. So thank you for that really mindful work. I mean,
thank you.
Especially around cannabis. I mean, it is medicine, but it's not without things that we really need to be conscious of so that people can have good success and use it as medicine. So I appreciate that so much. And I hope that people in our market will understand, and I think that they will, because I feel like when you talk to people now, you're like, well, what does the Minnesota market need? And everyone's like, they need education. So I think people are wanting to be educated about what they're consuming, what they're putting into their body, how it can affect things, and how they can really use it intentionally, like you have been. So,
Yeah. And I appreciate that you did some podcasts I saw on cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, CHS, which I think is something that people need to be more aware of too. I've had some firsthand experiences with two people that could not be any closer to me that have been in and out of the hospital with that. And it's when people are using it for pain management, that you can do anything too much.
For sure. So, thank you for saying that, because I have recently heard some whispers about it not being a real thing, and I'm like, I want to tell you right now that I am an emergency room nurse and I see
It's
it
very
all
much a real
the time.
thing.
It is very real for
Yep.
people, and so to hear those attitudes about it, it's really disheartening to me.
Yeah.
And you're right, too much of anything sometimes can be
Yeah.
tip us to a point where, you know, we're not really in a therapeutic range.
Right. And I think it's the people that it's happening most to are adolescents that have started using it too young of an age
Yes.
when their endocannabinoid system is not fully developed yet, is really
Agreed.
who it's happening to. I've
Yeah.
done a deep dive into CHS too,
Yeah.
because of who was, you know, what was happening to around me and
Right.
the level that it was. But also definitely about awareness that this is not something that teenagers should be doing at
Yeah.
will, you know,
Right.
without
You need like your
Yeah.
brain to be fully developed before you really start getting a good
anything.
relationship
Yeah.
going with cannabis. Yeah, with
Yeah.
anything, right? Including
Right.
alcohol too.
Right.
So, yeah, thank you for saying that. And I hope, my hope is that people will accept that, yes, this is a condition that can happen to people. And so, like, let's not, you know, stigmatize that. Let's work towards how can we make sure that people are going to be able to access their medication in a healthy way. Because as it stands, the treatment right now is complete abstinence.
Right.
So, you know,
Well,
to tell
yeah.
someone that's been using cannabis as their medicine,
Yeah.
like, oh, hey, you can't do that anymore, it's devastating, right? It's devastating. So, yeah, I hope we get to a better place with that.
I do too, and I'd like to figure out like why it's happening more so now. And my thoughts are on it that there's probably something about with the way that the products, the flower may potentially being sprayed. It could be a chemical reaction that's above and beyond the cannabinoids.
Yeah. There's some thoughts on that.
Yep.
I think there's some thoughts that it's like a DNA origin, actually. So, like how your DNA interacts with the plant, too.
Yeah.
So,
I
they're
believe
looking
it.
for markers, like specific DNA markers to see, like, are some people more prone to this? And then, of course, the thoughts on it now is that high dose or high concentrations of use is kind of what sparks that off. So,
it makes sense.
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, thank you for recognizing that and for really grasping onto it and putting good information out about it. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's something that people need to be more aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what brought you to Duluth? What?
Well, I'm from here originally.
Yeah.
I graduated high school here and then ended up going to the University of Minnesota for 1 year, came back here and graduated from UMD.
Okay.
And then ended up moving down to Minneapolis for my career after graduating. My mom and dad are still up here. My family's up here. But the store, this particular location, had been here for 21 years, Essence of Health, under Sharon Zukas, who was like a nutritional supplement, like just health guru, and who I have a lot of respect for. She helped with a lot of my grandmother's sleeping issues when she was going through stuff. So we would get like her sleep supplements here. That helped a lot.
Yeah, your mom mentioned that she was a customer before you took it over. So
yeah, so she was retiring and she was wanting to sell the business. At the time I was looking at potentially expanding my Minneapolis stores to include that here. So I was thinking of doing like mostly CBD, low dose products in the shop and then just carrying some of what her best sellers were.
Sure.
But once I got up here, took over the lease and started remodeling the place, all these customers kept on coming in and asking for their different supplements.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't close this store. I would be a disservice to the community, especially like people coming, like little ladies, you know what I mean, and guys coming in for stuff that they don't necessarily have access to going online and whatnot because they don't feel comfortable doing that.
Sure.
So yeah, I just decided to do it the exact opposite of what I had originally intended. All of this was going to be different CBD and THC products, and I was going to have a small section of whatever her best sellers were.
Okay.
And it's kind of flipped the other way around, where I've taken on most of, you know, what people are looking for than when they were originally shopping here.
Right.
And then doing a highly curated line of the THC and CBD products.
Awesome. And we know that cannabis interacts with our body better when our body is well. So we want to just make sure our whole body is well, right?
Yeah.
We want to support our endocannabinoid system instead of just, you know, pouring more phytocannabinoids or THC or CBD back into our body. We can also support it through wellness, like exercise, supplements, good diet. So kind of thinking about the whole body and not just like one aspect of it. So
right.
great
Absolutely.
intentional work. Yeah.
Thank
all
you.
around. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that it's an option for people here in this shop that wouldn't otherwise consider it or have access to it because they're not comfortable shopping and going into just like a THC or I'm sorry, a CBD shop that they have a lot of these around here, or smoke shops or things like that. Yeah, I've really helped some people kind of that would be more on the conservative end be open to it when they see that it's in a shop that has products like this of this caliber and level of awareness that goes into it, because the products that I carry are only, you know, the organic hemp farm products that have functional mushroom blends and you know, adaptogenic herbs in their formulas that I just know are some of the more effective products out there of the quality level that they are.
Feel free to shout out Carpe Diem and
shout out Carpe Diem.
Give them a great plug, because I always think it's important to support our local market, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Farmers that are growing here, especially when they are being intentional about making products that have CBD and other things like you mentioned, functional mushrooms or adaptogens that can really support that endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
What I hope to see is more growers. So at a growing level, even you'll see people growing different chemovars that will be type 1, type 3, and then type 2 will be a broader range. So we're seeing mixes of THC with other minor cannabinoids, so CBN, CBG, grown right into the plant, so at the very heart of it, and then developing products from there.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's my hope for the market, because that's really where the medicine is for people. So yeah. So,
yeah, also, I mean, including other herbs, functional herbs, like the guys from, what's the name of the place that Anahata Herbals is from Duluth.
Okay.
And he helps to formulate a lot of Ben from Carpe Diem's products.
Okay, great.
So I love some of the ideas of there's just so many possibilities of merging cannabinoids with a lot of the different herbs and supplements. Like I'm thinking, for example, like trauma plant comfrey cream.
Yeah.
Over there, that is a really powerful anti-inflammatory. Works really, really well for like in place of like arnica for bruising, pain relief. But why not? I mean, and I don't know. Like you'd have to do the research on it.
Yeah.
But why not do a topical that has the cannabinoids, the CBD ointment, along with you know the trauma plant to have a really effective product, right? And arnica and all of those other things.
It's your next venture, Kara. I can already see the writing on the wall.
No, I definitely it's crossed my mind a few times to be doing more like product development and doing a brand.
That's awesome.
And expanding from there, as you know, and keeping within this niche of the industry, the space of the wellness aspect of it.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I have nothing against the recreational side of things either. Yeah. I'm all for the legacy market, what they're doing, and love seeing people be successful in whatever aspect, you know, they're deciding to do with it. So.
Again, it goes back to the conversation about, you know, however people are using cannabis. I mean, it's all medicine. They're treating their own set of symptoms in their own way.
In their own unique personal ways. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that people, you know, they find whatever it is that works best for them. And, you know, I like to give people different opportunities to, you know, try the drinks for their first time, a low dose drink, or like the Sunny products. I love that product as far as like new users figuring out their dose with just 1 milligram at a time. It's a great concept. I love their product.
Completely, yeah. And I would imagine maybe your demographic is of an older generation. How was cannabis received when they come into the store and see all these great new products?
Yeah, well, Sharon had kind of introduced some of the products. She carried some things before I even took the store over, and they happened to be Ben's. So it was kind of like a nice, easy transition in that regard. They've just seen this big expansion of what I'm kind of doing. So they had already, had a little bit of an introduction from Sharon, which I think really helped, provide some legitimacy to it. And then a lot of people come in here with questions that, they're completely new to it. And I've spoke to people that are police officers that wish they could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that kind of stuff. But I think overall it's been kind of well received. I do have some conservative customers that have kind of poo-pooed it, I guess. Yeah. Is that what you call it? When they do that, or whatever.
I think this area
they still shop here for the other stuff, so.
Yeah, and it's a tough area, the whole Iron Range, I feel like. I don't know if I shared this with you, but when my dad was sick, I took care of him, and I was like, he was having all this pain, and I was like, Dad, why don't you try some of this cannabis?
Yeah.
And he's like, Molly, are you trying to kill me? And I was just like, Dad, come on. No, I'm not going to do that. There's traditional values here, conservative, you mentioned. But my hope is that people will keep an open mind about it, because I think when they try it, they're going to see that they might actually really get some good benefits from it. And I love that you are really introducing CBD, because I feel like that's a place where people can access cannabis and they don't have to have that euphoria feeling. And I think that's usually what kind of steers people away from weed or THC or whatever word we're using for it. So,
right. Yeah, I agree.
So, glad to see you doing that kind of that education piece again, especially when I saw you talking about someone's medicines. I was like, oh my God, I was so touched. I was like, thank goodness, that there's people out there that are mindful of, especially an older population that may be on multi-pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, I have to ask my customers if they're on blood thinners, if they're wanting to use CBD, because it's a contraindication that, we need to be aware of. And I don't give medical advice. I can't, but I can.
Me neither.
So, but in that regard, it is good to be mindful about what people are doing, for sure. Yeah, it's been fun to be able to provide access in a comfortable way for people who wouldn't otherwise. And especially now that legalization has happened, people are a lot more inclined to, seek out these products.
Yeah, my worry is that people that maybe are new to cannabis and like getting a medical card are going to walk into dispensaries and be so overwhelmed and just like not know where to start and turn around and walk back out. That's my worry. Yeah. So,
and it's real. Yeah. And that's why I like to, as far as like, my idea is more of having that one-on-one experience, and that it's not all about cannabis either. It's about like, well, if that's not something that you're inclined to want, I can offer other alternatives too. You know what I mean? So it's not like a hard sell with me, with when I'm engaging with customers.
Think one of the things that I want to really stress the importance of to the audience too is that, Kara is selling products that come from Minnesota. It's really always important to know who your grower is and know where your products are coming from. So to see you being intentional about having these great products from Carpe Diem is really, it's wonderful, and I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. My pitch on the Carpe Diem is I let people know that they are vegan, they're gluten-free, they are free of any artificial colors or preservatives, all of those things that people aren't necessarily mindful of if they're going in and just wanting to buy a THC gummy, right? So they may go into whatever shops and just get whatever looks good, tastes good, all of that, but isn't actually good for you otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's why I definitely like theirs, and they've done a really good job overall with efficacy and all of that. So
awesome.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite products then that you carry in the store?
For the THC side of things, or
Both.
all of my stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I love...
What can people expect when they come in?
Yeah. I love that we have a product that helps people with osteoporosis. That's a natural product called Bone Maximizer. That's a huge issue, especially with women with their bone density.
Yeah.
And that's something that people get DEXA scans for,
Yep.
to find what their bone density is. And that one is clinically proven to actually help increase bone density, whereas the type of pharmaceutical that's used isn't necessarily, it's at trying to help them not continue to have bone loss. And there's a lot of negative side effects with those kind of medicines. So I'd like to be able to provide alternatives in that way for things that can actually harm people. The stuff is actually just food stuff, supplements, right? So the Bone Maximizer, I love that the product is out there. My mother is affected by osteoporosis. My grandmother had it too. So there's that personal concern there. And then seeing all these women coming in and telling me that their bone density is increased from it. I love that product for that reason. I really like the trauma plant as an alternative to people that are adverse to CBD as far as for a topical use. I love this liquid vitamin called, what is that one over there called? You're right in front of it, Leah, Liquid Gold.
Okay.
I love that stuff.
What's good about it?
It's a liquid vitamin, all from Whole Foods, super condensed. It has your D3s, your K2s, CoQ10, resveratrol. So you're getting a really good just flush of natural. The energy is what I like about it the most, though.
Okay.
So as soon as I take it, like within probably 15-20 minutes, you get like this really nice natural energy without having to consume caffeine, so like doesn't affect your heart or anything like that. So
the great thing about that is, when people take supplements, it's hard for your body to use them, so it's already in that liquid state. So that's like one less process that your body has to do to kind of break that tablet or that capsule down.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you get the immediate kind of feeling of that natural boost of energy. And I try to let people know that as far as like consuming when you're doing supplements in general, like a liquid or a powder that you can mix with a liquid is going to be the most bioavailable to you.
Exactly.
And that crosses over with the use of cannabinoids as well.
It sure does.
When you're doing things like if you're wanting something that has a quicker onset, to be using like a sublingual instead of a gummy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
great.
It all kind of crosses over.
What does this area in particular need from the cannabis community in order to kind of bring people in or support the people that are already using cannabis?
In this area particularly?
Yeah. What have you found, I guess?
Yeah. There's not really that I'm aware of, and I could be wrong, because I've kind of dialed in and really focused in on my store and growing the store in this area. But to the best of my knowledge, there's not really an active community the way that there is in the Twin Cities. Like there was a lot of events down there, Canna Connect, doing like a lot of the social events and whatnot. To the best of my knowledge, that's not really happening here. Like I said, I could be wrong, but not that I've seen. So.
Would you like to be a leader in that area?
Yeah, just put one more thing on my plate, right?
Well, you've got a great staff here. I mean,
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate to have the staff that I have. They're super knowledgeable, and cannabis is new to them, so it's been this thing that merging natural wellness with cannabis for them has been kind of cool too.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's really my goal with all of this, is to help destigmatize the plant by merging it with the natural wellness industry.
Yeah, you talked earlier about a class that you had given through, was it through Community Ed or was it through the UMD?
University of Minnesota, Duluth for seniors.
Okay.
Yeah.
How the seniors came in and they had a lot of great questions and whatnot. I think things like that, even if you were to host something like that in your shop, would be so helpful.
Yeah.
You know, to maybe like flyer the neighborhood and get people to come in and just show that there's a supportive place where you can come that's not trying to, you know, sell you something that you have to smoke or sell you something that's gonna, you know, produce certain effects that maybe you aren't looking for. So
right.
Just having those opportunities for education even is really essential. But also the social aspect of, you know, like maybe having speakeasies or, you know, consumption lounges where people can go and get into community, or do things like you've done, smoking a runway down in the cities. So talk a little bit more about some of the things that you've done to kind of help curate that part of cannabis culture.
Yeah, so, well, you mentioned Smoking on the Runway. Smoking on the Runway is a fashion show that I put on with Duel from Diesel Jays and Shamika. Was a really fun event to merge like the whole fashion world and creatives. I feel like I've used cannabis in the past to kind of spark that creative side of my brain when it comes to painting and stuff, because I'm an artist too. And to bring those two industries kind of together, I thought was really fun. A lot of those people that were like models and whatnot that came into the first show didn't even know there were shops like mine at the time, so where you could even be getting those things, because it's so new to Minnesota, right?
Sure.
So that was really fun. And just getting all of the vendors, my favorite vendors, together for an event was really cool. And that's helping to me in my mind, is that's supporting the legacy market, you know what I mean? So, so yeah, that was a fun event. And we would host events at my previous store in the Twin Cities. We would do like stand-up comedy, and then the stand-up comedy events. We did the Women's in Cannabis. I can't remember the name.
There was like a dinner, right?
Yeah, that was awesome.
A curated dinner.
And then we did the drinks. When the president of the National Beverage Association or whatever that was a really cool event too. Yeah, we've done a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, great job.
So, thank you.
I hope that maybe this Duluth community can really grasp onto that, and some people, you know, if it's not you, that some other leaders will come forward and really try to foster that area of cannabis culture, because it's important. It's important for people to see images of people using cannabis and doing the things that they love to do, sparking creativity and being in large groups where they're all having a good time, and it's not necessarily like this binge drunk fest. And you know, this is a college town, so you know, my hope is that maybe even younger folks will start to realize, like, hey, maybe alcohol isn't the best thing for me, and it's not so great waking up the next morning with like this big hangover when I have a test, you know, the next day, or so
yeah, I think that, I mean, in regards to that, it also is something that I think is really important to realize, that there's a lot of people that do struggle with overuse of alcohol that have found relief from using cannabinoids, and that's really important to passionate about that as well. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
And getting people off of opioids.
Yeah.
You know, getting people to understand that cannabis actually slows down your pain receptors in the same way that opioids do, but without having the risk of
physical withdrawal.
Well, that and opioids affect your respiratory system. That's why people OD, is because they stop breathing.
Right.
Cannabis doesn't affect your respiratory system. So, like, you know, those are things that when you're talking about like being active in the community, I guess, like, for me, just getting that public awareness out there that there's healthy alternatives to these things are really important to me. But yeah, if we could get the rest of the cannabis industry to kind of rally around those types of things,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I think that's probably what it needs more than anything.
Party stuff.
I mean, I'm all for partying too, obviously. Like, I do the show and whatnot. And
Right.
as we were talking about it here, I was thinking maybe it would be fun to do a smoking on the runway in
It
Duluth.
would so be fun, Kara. And probably a lot of your people from in the cities would come and support you. I know I would. Yeah, for
that'd be
sure.
Cool. Thanks for that suggestion.
Yeah. When people come in, are you finding that they're knowledgeable about cannabis? Do they have they done research outside of here and they kind of know?
Some people know exactly what they're talking about and know exactly what they want. But the majority of my customers, though, are new consumers or used to use it way back when.
Sure.
And, decided to step away from that to live their normal life since they were hippies in the 60s, whatever.
Yeah.
But love the idea that it's legal now to try again, because that was such a huge, blockade from people wanting to actually to try it. So, I'd say most of them, they're new to it, especially in the forms that we have it.
Yeah, right.
The gummies and whatnot.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's not smoking, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to see come out of the new rules of the OCM and how this market is going to develop and how that can impact the community up here specifically?
I'm not completely entirely up to speed on where we're at with things with the OCM. I know that the last that I had heard, some of the barriers as far as the specifics for compliancy with dispensaries seemed a little far stretched, as far as like the need for bulletproof glass and safe rooms. Like, to me, that's a little bit overkill, I think, from my experience with what the California market looked like.
Sure.
I think that should be at the discretion of the owners of the business and not the state. That's a little far reaching.
Right. And again, how are you going to provide a welcoming environment with bulletproof glass? I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just, to me, showing that how out of touch what they're seeing this is actually going to look like. If you're going to treat it that way, then you should have the expectations that it's going to be received that way, if you know what I mean. So like, what if somebody like me wants to open up a little cute boutique dispensary that is appointment only and whatnot, and why would you have to go to the extremes of all of that? I guess it doesn't make sense to me. I guess there's a lot of things that don't make sense to me about what's going on though. That's a whole other interview.
Hopefully they'll get those things ironed out and like we'll come online when we're supposed to and people will have access to really good medicine. I'm hopeful. I'm trying to stay optimistic, but reading through, I mean, there's definitely some problems. So
I'd really like to see them get things together in regards to the social equity aspect of it, like to what seems like they're brushing that under the table when it was this huge component to it. To me, seems like really irresponsible.
The intention of the bill, I think, was really, to support the social equity piece and craft cannabis, and I think they're really moving far away from that, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, especially because they were supposed to be supporting all these social equity peoples, and there was like this big initiative there. And then when everybody did apply, they were finding like the smallest nuances in their applications and rejecting them instead of trying to actually empower them. Try to empower them by actually helping them get their licenses and advocating for them. That's what should really be going on. And instead, they've taken these people's money that are trying to get their license and putting them even more behind than they were before.
For sure.
It's really not okay with what's happening.
It's disheartening to say the least, I think. And it's not, servicing the community or the industry, or really living up to the intention of the bill, I think.
Right.
So we'll see.
Especially from what we want to see in a state like Minnesota, where we are more, I mean, people from Minnesota are really all about supporting local brands and keeping things local. And once we get all of these multi-state operators in here, this market, I already know from what I've experienced in California and just watching other markets expand, is going to look entirely different than what I think Minnesotans would like to see.
Right.
And supporting these people that have been in the legacy market for a long time. And seeing them, you know, with what's going on with the lottery and everything getting bulldozed over now is it's not a good look.
It isn't for anyone, and it doesn't really service anyone besides the people with money and cash that can come into our market and just like ravage and pillage the basement out of everything. And I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I'm optimistic, but
I'm hopeful that it'll all work out for the best. If we get the right people.
We need a leader. We really need a leader that understands the market and how it should play out. And I just am dying to see who they're gonna get to take on that role. You know, who are they gonna get? I think it's
a big responsibility. It is. And you're automatically putting yourself up for a lot of scrutiny too. For sure. But I think it's somebody that is needs to take into consideration with what has already happened, and rectify some of the stuff that is currently happening.
For sure. For sure. What's next for you?
Well, I would like to get my store online. That would be a great goal for this next year. The products that I have are outside of the THC products and the wellness products are really well curated brands that I really believe in, and I think it kind of helps people to dial in on what is going to be best for them in an easy way. And so it's providing accessibility is really a big goal for me. So the website development, I'd like to eventually do some product formulations that we had spoke about.
Perfect.
I think that would be really fun to work some of the stuff that I've learned about natural wellness, integrating it with the cannabinoids would be cool.
Nice.
So maybe some product development, and then obviously doing the branding with that. I would like to have part of this business potentially expanded with more of the products that are coming in the natural wellness side with the THC and CBD products. So I know there's a lot of other good brands out there that I'm not carrying, but I'd definitely like to expand on my inventory in that regard too. So we'll see.
And how can the industry, our industry, support you?
I have, you know what, I'm super grateful for the people that are in the industry that have supported me. Too many people to name, but there's a lot of amazing players out there that are in Minnesota that are doing really awesome things, and I'm really excited to see what they're doing. But I mean, I would just say,
how about come to Duluth? Like, come up and see the shop and like shop in the shop. And,
come to my shop.
That's what I want to see. I want to see people coming in and referring you, because you do have all these great products. And so I want for the industry to be like, yep, I know this really great shop in Duluth. You're not going to get any weird Delta 8 or you know, Delta 10 or, you know, I know those products are banned now, but you know, you're gonna reach a knowledgeable staff that's gonna be able to guide you into a place where you're really comfortable and work with you. If I'm assuming that, you know, if people come back and be like, yeah, that didn't really work for me, then you might have okay, well, let's move in this direction, kind of an idea similar to like what a cannabis nurse would do. So
yeah, that would be great if I could get people from the industry to come shop for sure. And then, you know, just to continue to support other, you know, people that are doing it, like that are like-minded as well. I don't know, come to my fashion shows if I do one again, which I'm hoping to maybe do one, at least one this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
I have to catch up with Dual on that one.
Yeah.
We both got really busy there for a little while.
Yeah.
So.
And busy's good, right?
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah.
For sure.
With the way that we have been, yes, we've had a full plate with a lot of different things. So.
For sure.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts or things that you want to get across that maybe we didn't cover today?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, we covered a lot of stuff.
We did,
so
yeah.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to sit down and talk with you.
Oh my gosh, I'm the one who's grateful. You're so dynamic,
Oh,
and you're
thank you.
such a powerful person, and I really look up to you, especially after having talked with you today, and seeing how you really grasp on to supporting the local community, knowing the products, knowing that they will interact in different ways with people's already in place medications, and to see you doing this intentional work, it touches my heart. And you are exactly the kind of person that cannabis nurses love to refer to, because
thank you.
you are doing such great work, and you're keeping the patient and the client or the consumer at the heart of it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, that's where my passion is. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to be doing it. I feel very blessed.
It comes through. So
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you, everyone. Please check us out on all social media platforms, YouTube, IG. Kara, where can my audience reach you?
Here at the store, you can, the Essence of Health is my store in Duluth. Otherwise, I'm also on the web. Our website is cureessence.net.com right now. I'm going to be getting that changed, though, shortly.
More to come.
It's going to be essenceofhealth.org, I believe, or net. I am working on that right now for our website. But I'm also on IG, on Facebook, too.
And what's the address so people know where to come when they're in Duluth?
909 West Central Entrance. We're in the Stone Ridge Shopping Center.
And this is like the Miller Hill Mall
area. Well, the Miller Hill Mall area is right up here. This is the Stone Ridge Shopping Center. So it's like they're right next to each other.
So come here, get your products. And again, reach out to Kara if you're needing some CBD products or THC products. And
or immunity stuff,
or immunity products,
other any nutritional supplements, all of it.
So that's it for the show. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone.